So the Blue Bulls company is holding a press conference regarding the winger Sbu Nkosi, who had gone AWOL and was only found yesterday. Our reporter Percival Young is at Loftus and joins us now for a quick update. A very good morning to you, Percy. You've been so concerned over the past couple of days with regard to Sbu. What do you know, and is he feeling okay? I know that he is safe now.
Yes, good morning, Nandi. I can tell you there's a sense of relief here at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria after a weekend of, I would say, a bit of drama, but there's also a sense of sadness, a bit of sadness here after the events that transpired this past weekend. We obviously heard today that they managed to find the Springbok and Bulls winger Sbu Nkosi yesterday at his stepfather's house yesterday in Woodbank. But what the CEO, Mr. Edgar Rathbone, said today was a rather sad part of this whole story, saying that they've discovered that the player has come forward and disclosed that he's not dealing very well with the pressures of professional sport at this level, playing for the Springboks and playing at the highest level for the Blue Bulls. But I'm joined here with a experienced journalist, the SuperSport rugby writer Brendan Nell, a man who's been covering rugby for years now, and he's also seen the growth of Sbu Nkosi. Just to give us an idea of what transpired today in this press conference with the CEO of the Blue Bulls company, Brendan. Just briefly, obviously a very dramatic weekend after that initial statement that the Blue Bulls released. Just your thoughts on what transpired this past weekend and this past 3 weeks?
Well, I think, thank you, Percy. I think the Bulls tried to obviously handle this internally. It was a personnel matter, and they obviously tried to get between players and family members to get them, to sort the situation out. And obviously, I don't think people realise what a big step it was for the Bulls to actually come out and make it public that he was missing. There was obviously a lot of worry. I think there's a lot of relief now that he's fine. But as Edgar Rathbone said, this is a wake-up call for rugby and for professional sport. We live in a very South Africa, which we've got several problems we're all dealing with every day, and the pressures that professional sportsmen have as well. So not everybody handles it well. And I think this is really a wake-up call for rugby.
The big issue that was raised here today by the CEO today was the issue of mental health, and the player coming forward, telling his bosses here, and he's not dealing with professional sport at this level very well. And that issue was dealt very broadly here today in this press conference today.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think teams like to talk about being families and a family environment that they try and, but it is a testosterone-filled environment. It's a high-pressure environment. The teams need to succeed, and it raises a lot of questions about if these teams are all families. Why wouldn't you speak out to somebody in your family and tell them? And I think that was a lot of the frustration, I suppose internally for the Bulls, is that there obviously wasn't signs. They didn't pick up signs, and maybe they need to look at their own processes. Maybe rugby needs to look in a broader sense. But for a player to get to that point where he disappears for 3 weeks, we don't know what's going on in his mind, what he's dealing with. But it obviously was a very serious situation to get to this point.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, the issue that Edgar Rathbone also raised is that maybe rugby unions, maybe rugby in general, should start thinking of dealing with players and giving them more assistance, though?
Well, I think the Bulls are one of the teams that have a full-time psychologist, and you can only do so much. If I think anybody who's been involved in a situation like this knows that if the person doesn't speak out themselves, you probably won't know what's going on in their mind. So I think, but there's always something more you can do, and there's always signs you can look out for. And I think rugby will look at that now. But this is a big wake-up call for rugby.
Now, obviously, Jake White. These type of issues, especially this Sbu Nkosi issue, is obviously dealing with affecting a lot of players here. They're preparing for this weekend's Championship Cup match against Lyon. How do you think it will affect the broader players at this union?
Well, they are very close-knit. They travel a lot together. They spend most of their time together, like any work colleagues, and they're probably a bit more than any work colleagues because they spend a lot more time together as a team. So I think it would affect them, and you can just think anybody who's in you're close to who suddenly disappears, there's a lot of worry, there's a lot of anxiousness. So they'll be relieved, one, but I think now they'll probably have a bit more introspection. It's difficult in a team environment because everything's so fast moving, and you play from week to week, and there's a game. This Saturday's game is a huge one for the Bulls against the French side. So I think at some point they'll have to have a moment where they take, as a team, some introspection, and they deal with this a bit more deeper. And I think the team psychologist will probably come very into that as well.
Brennan, thank you so much for your time, sir. Well, Nandi, there you have it. A very sensitive matter at the moment with regards to the Springbok winger, Sbu Nkosi. I think one of the most important questions a number of the journalists ask here today is whether Sbu Nkosi, how soon he will be back and whether he will still stay on here at the Blue Bulls Rugby Union. But Edgar Radman was very clear for now. Their main concern is to look at the well-being of the player and to ensure that he gets back onto his feet and gets back onto a rugby field, whether it's here at the Blue Bulls Rugby Union or whether it's at the other rugby union. But it's not clear whether he will stay as a player at this union for now.
Yeah, Percy, thank you so much for that. I think at this point it's more important that he sort out his mental health and finds himself in a healthier place before he can start talking about going back to playing rugby. That was our reporter Percival Young out at Loftus as we follow this Sbu Nkosi saga.